Okay, I'm here today with Phil and Bob, and they are a couple of Harley-Davidson owners. And this is Phil's ride. This is Bob's ride. We're just going to kind of have a little conversation about Harley-Davidson from the customer's perspective. And I know Phil is also a shareholder, so he has another perspective as well, and that's he, of course, wants to see Harley do well and stay in business and make him lots of money for his retirement. So, Phil, why don't you go ahead and introduce us to your ride here and tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, well, are you going now? Okay, it's a FLHTC 1994. Bought it brand new. Dealership in Bellingham, Washington. Rode it for about 47,000 miles. Have a little trouble with my legs and feet, so I had it converted to trike. It's a champion kit made in California and painted to match the rest of the bike.
Now, why did you choose Harley-Davidson over any of the bikes you could have purchased?
Well, I just like the name Harley-Davidson. It's a American bike. Sounds like American bike. Doesn't sound like Oriental food. And it just, I just like it. It's very dependable, comfortable, easy to ride.
Bob, why don't you introduce us to your machine?
Okay, this is a 1989 Heritage Softail. I bought it in the year 2000. The guy owned it, bought it brand new in '89, and he wrecked it. He and his wife were on. He wrecked it, and he got scared after he got it fixed. He wanted to sell it, so I bought it. I put some 50,000 miles on it. What I like about Harley-Davidson, even though many of their parts are manufactured offshore, they're still an American company. They started out as an American company. They have been able to fight off the invasion of the Asian bikes. There's a lot of cachet about Harley-Davidson being uniquely American, and they are uniquely American. No matter where the parts come from, the profits are here in the United States. And if they wasn't a Harley-Davidson, I wouldn't ride a motorcycle.
Good deal.
Period. I would not ride a Japanese bike, or even a BMW. So.
Now, along the lines of the parts being outsourced from foreign manufacturers, it was my understanding that in the 80s, Harley had kind of a quality problem with their bikes.
That was when Harley-Davidson was owned by AMF, American Foundry and Machinery Company, and AMF had an entirely different philosophy of motorcycles, and they were more interested in production and getting the numbers out than they were in quality. And there were some senior executives in AMF who got together and bought Harley from AMF. And they immediately, that was about the time they came out with the Evo engine, and their first step was to improve the QC on their bikes. And Harley got a terrible reputation for that AMF. You gotta have a toolkit, and they leak oil, and all this yakky about Harleys, and it's still a stigma with Harley, with people who don't understand and actually know the motorcycles. But they are reliable. I haven't had any trouble with my bike. Phil's hasn't had any trouble with his, and they're good bikes.
Now, Phil, maybe you can tell us, with the economy the way it is, how is riding a Harley maybe better than any of the alternatives? Not just competitors for Harley, but a car or an SUV, or why would you rather ride a Harley than drive a car in these economic times?
Well, I don't know if economy has much to do with it. Yes, it's good economy, and it's enjoyable to ride. It's gets about 40 plus miles a gallon just every day. And,
So it's something you don't have to think about.
something I don't really think about. Yeah, I just enjoy riding Harley.
So there's another side to the whole economic issue, and that is people are not buying bikes because this seems to be a luxury item, and people are just clamping down and they're not buying things because of the recession that's coming on. So on the other side, which is why I was asking you about, would you ride this to save gas? So it's kind of a two-part question.
Yeah, two-part question. I enjoy riding it. I'd rather ride this in a cage. You're asking a question about economy and stuff. There's a lot of elderly people that buy Harleys, park them in their garages, tell everybody they're bikers, and they get away for one wild week at Sturgis, and lucky they get home and they can tell people how bad they are.
Oh, bad as in
The bad boy image.
Yeah, the bad boy image.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of bikes that these old geezers have. They're parked in garages with 2,000 or 3,000 miles on them, but they're a biker because they got that Harley sitting there. Us riders know that it's way easy now. You can buy a bike anywhere where.
Because the inventory, they have really high inventory level.
High inventory. It's easy to buy one. When I bought my bike, I had to go clear to Washington to buy it, and it was just hard to come by. Now they're begging you to buy them, and all these good old boys that want them have them, and they're just slowing down. They're getting more bikes than they have people.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, the supply is still a little too high.
Supply is.
So Harley still needs to figure out. They need to adjust and adapt, because as a shareholder, this affects you, Phil, more than it affects.
Yes.
I mean, that's great for you as a customer, as a Harley customer, because you can go in and you can pick whatever bike you want. But as a shareholder, it really is affecting your bottom line, because Harley doesn't. Harley hanging onto their inventory and claiming it on their financials is not good business. So.
I don't believe it is.
Yeah, they need to tighten up just a little bit. In 2007, they had a wage and health benefit strike by one of their unions at their York, Pennsylvania final assembly plant. I kind of wanted your guys' opinions on unions and unionized workers. They actually had to, because of this 2-week strike, they had to shut down for a period of time. And so not only did that affect the unionized workers, but it affected the non-unionized workers too, and not just at their York, Pennsylvania plant, but in Kansas City and also in Milwaukee. So what's your opinion on the fact that Harley uses unions, and the fact that when the contract expired, it affected so many people for such a period of time?
Well, I'm a proponent of unions. I think, some unions, well, they all have warts. They're not all perfect. But without unions, we don't work for chicken feed. I mean, everybody, there are times like what you're talking about where there are people who suffer financially. The long-term benefit far outweighs, I think, the immediate hardship some people experience when they go out on strike. But no, I've always been pro-union. I'm an ex-union member, and I'm convinced.
I believe unions do a lot of good. You would be working lots of hours, not paid well, etc., etc. Unions have helped us. I've had one job and really needed a union.
So I just want to thank you guys.
Sure.
And Dad, thanks.
Thank you. Where else can you buy a $12 t-shirt for $25 from Harley?